Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Tech Talk. This is going to be a great one. We're going to dive into a hot topic of enterprise service management and IT operations management coming together. I'm excited to have our partner from FlyCast on today. So let's jump right in. This is Darren with OpsRamp. On with me, as has been on many of these Tech Talks, is Kurt Thorin, a solution architect out of Chicago, I believe. Right, Kurt? And Bobby McCullough is with the FlyCast Partners. So let me just quickly introduce you to Bobby, and then you can kind of introduce yourself. But the cool thing about Bobby is he's got over 2 decades of selling, implementing, supporting a variety of solutions, including IT service, operations, financial management, IT asset management. The list goes on. Bobby's configured demonstration systems using JSON file ingestion through APIs and Python. He's added value in multi-product engagements, providing overall solution views and clarity. So you've done a lot, Bobby, in your career, and you're with FlyCast. So why don't you, tell us a little bit about yourself and introduce your company?
Sure. Thanks, Darren. Guys, as you said, I'm Bobby McCullough. I've been in the industry over 20 years. I think I'm coming up on 25 now. I'll be easy to pick out on the call because I'll be the one without the accent. I'm based in Tennessee. FlyCast Partners is based in St. Petersburg, Florida. If you want to go ahead and move on to the FlyCast slide there. So we've got over 5,000 implementations. We're an ITIL-based shop. We'll talk a little bit about ITIL here in just a minute. And we implement, help manage, sell, and configure a whole host of ITSM, IT operations management solutions, asset management solutions, and everything. So we help you with best practices. We help you with project management and really anything you need to become better in the IT environment. We've got something to help you with.
Awesome. Well, we're excited to have you on, Bobby. Thanks for joining. The agenda, as I mentioned, Bobby's going to kind of set the stage on the world of service management and the evolution to enterprise service management. Kurt and we'll come in to talk about that intersection with IT ops and how that's all sort of converging. And then, as always, we'll spend the majority of our time in a pretty cool demonstration. So let's jump into ITSM. Where's it come from and where's it going?
Sure. Well, so service management has really been around a long time, Darren. What most of us are focused on and are familiar with is IT service management based on an ITIL framework, ITIL. ITIL was developed in the 80s, but service management has been going on for a long time. It predates IT. The telecom companies did it, the cable companies did it, and before those guys, the people that delivered blocks of ice did some form of service management. Now, it was always ad hoc, and over time, it's gotten much more defined and refined. And in the 80s, the UK developed the ITIL framework, and that's what you see here: a user experience for that shift left, self-service catalog, and so on as you move around that circle. So you can see all the elements that IT service management addresses, but IT just isn't the only organization in most enterprises that needs service management. It really goes beyond that, and that's where we start getting into enterprise service management. But if you look over here on the left, you notice there's an item for event management, and that's really where IT operations management comes in. Darren and are going to talk here in a bit about OpsRamp and how it addresses today's environment, and that's real key, bringing that information into service management. In the past, that might be a problem because of the volume of alerts, but OpsRamp's got tools to help with that. If you could go ahead and move on.
Awesome. Before we jump into enterprise service management and kind of that evolution, I just want to maybe pull Kurt into this for a minute, because Kurt, you've also had a long career both on the ITOM and the ITSM side of things. Have you seen them always as quite distinct and separate? Are you seeing more convergence now than in the past? Like, what's been the evolution here from your perspective?
Yeah, absolutely, Darren. I mean, it's traditionally it used to be, there was a whole world and the help desk worked there. I mean, that was even a term at the time, right? Help desk. When I started working, selling both sides of the technology, it's just, hey, we deal with tickets and then we phone out to people and do everything else. But as we've matured and as technology's progressed, right, these worlds are starting to converge, and there's a nice dovetail between ITOM and ESM and service management now, where we see people, not just dedicated help desk or support desk staff or service desk staff, while that's still there, but we see more people in operations and more people, especially in that DevOps world that's emerging, taking on those responsibilities for the application, the code, the infrastructure, virtual or physical, that's out there. And that's where we see event management is really that hybrid for ESM, where the worlds come together and merge. Because the services, when we start talking about defining services, delivering them that ITIL model, that really relies on the infrastructure below that. And there's overlaps like change and configuration management, the event management, where the IT ops world has existed previously, but we want to start bringing that over together. So how do we define those services? They're all being delivered by infrastructure, whether it's virtual, physical, cloud, network, and align that health and performance of those services to what the service support teams are doing on the ESM side. So it's a really exciting time to be in both spaces as they kind of converge together.
Awesome. So let's talk about this ESM term. Bobby, like, how are you seeing that play out? Is it bringing more? It looks like it's bringing more parts of the organization into the overall service management umbrella or portfolio.
Yeah, service management is really service management, regardless of whether it's IT. Or maybe it's an onboarding request coming from HR, a time off request. Maybe finance has a budget change request, facilities, room reservations. All of those type of things are still service management type activities. And so that's really where it's going, moving to a single portal that provides an organization the ability to manage all of these type of requests.
Have you seen that accelerate? Given, look, we're all dealing with over the last couple of months, shelter in place and remote IT is the new normal. Are you guys kind of seeing an acceleration here towards a new approach to service management, sort of breaking down of silos? Like what's changed over the last couple of months, if anything, from what you're seeing with talking to your clients?
Well, there's always been an issue with onboarding, because that always involves the IT departments. But over the last few months, demands have just gone up. More people working remote, the requirements for people working remote, the management of those assets and requests coming in from that. And so from an IT perspective, there's been a bigger demand, but they also recognize that the other business units within the organization, they're able to streamline their processes and activities by just piggybacking on that same service management system, creating an enterprise service management system.
Great. So we've talked about sort of IT as a service, IT operations as a service. Are you seeing kind of a new shared service model emerging, or kind of a new recognition of the importance of IT in all of this, or are there other groups that are playing a bigger role?
So I wouldn't necessarily call it a new development. What's happened is there's just been renewed focus. When we present these solutions to customers, we always talk about the benefits of bringing in those other groups. Now those other groups are much more amenable to that prospect.
Makes sense. So let's jump into this intersection. You kind of hit on some of these points, Kurt, already. Let's sort of set the stage for what we're going to talk about and show in the demo of kind of these two worlds, service-oriented and infrastructure-oriented converging. Want to just talk about a little bit about how that's playing out and some of the goals that each group has? Kurt?
Sure. As we said, everybody by this point is familiar with business services and having those out there, and they've spent a decade or so trying to map those into a CMDB and get a real insight into it. But still, a lot of times when people start getting issues opened up by their customers that they're servicing, it's coming from the customers. There's not too much proactive to it. And then when there is an issue and they need to identify it, how do they really assess that health? How do they get to the underlying issues that are out there? And it's really been a lot of swivel chair for folks, because when we start talking to enterprises and customers of ours, Darren, as you fully know, is that they typically have 10, 12, 15. In fact, Gartner at the IT Operations Conference in December, they were saying that the typical enterprise has between 25 to 30 operations management tools. Now, if you think about that, and there's a critical outage in payroll or some other type of service that you're supplying your customers for, and you start, customer calls in and says, hey, I can't get to this. Where do you start to diagnose and troubleshoot that if you don't have a single pane of glass, a digital command center, someplace where all those metrics and that information is coming in? You've got to start going, okay, well, it's on this node, or it's on this resource, and it's this network device, and I've got a swivel chair between all of these, and how do I remediate it? How can we start to get that MTTR down to a reasonable level and start to empower our support teams and our operations staff and our DevOps teams to be able to quickly identify where that root cause of the problem is and restore those services? So that's where we see the world going, and it's really a seamless segue, because a lot of the information that's stored in the ESM side with CMDB's configuration is also leveraged heavily by the operations team and the DevOps team. And in fact, there's a synergistic, for lack of a better term, using that the fancy catchword, existence between the two, where we're having bi-directional updates from both systems flowing back and forth, and letting people be able to work seamlessly between the different solutions and the different disciplines within an organization to support the customers and the business services.
That makes sense. I mean, similarly, Bobby, are you guys at FlyCast, you're typically coming in, as I understand it, on an ITSM project or service management project, and then in that initiative, in that rollout, in some phase, are you looking at what's happening in the world of monitoring? Are you connecting those dots for the client, or are you finding that they're already thinking more holistically about these worlds converging?
Well, most of our customers are being led in this area, and so we're going in and helping them with tracking down those alerts and managing them from that perspective, bringing those into the tool. That they're exactly as you described. They have multiple monitoring solutions or a lack of monitoring solutions in certain areas, and they need something to help with the flood of alerts that they've got coming in.
Yeah, we talk a lot, about the reduction of noise, alert correlation, root cause analysis. I'm seeing more and more discussion about, visibility is interesting and helpful, but we really want to get to the insights and the automation so we can, that's where I think some of the AI ops buzz comes from. But, help me solve the problem before it even happens.
Yeah.
Is that what you guys are seeing as well?
Well, and that's the COVID has just pushed that farther and faster. Where that might not have been a priority, it might have been a nice to have. Now, since COVID, that becomes more and more of a priority. It moves up on the list.
Yeah, that makes sense. If your business has now moved to be almost 100%, if not 100% digital, you have to have that amazing customer experience on your digital properties. So downtime, I've heard the term, downtime is the new outage. So, people are going to be less patient if there's any kind of blip or glitch. So, resolving those before they happen is the goal. But maybe that's always been the goal. So I don't know. Maybe we'll get into what's changed now when we talk about the demonstration. But any more points to highlight here in terms of the benefits of bringing service management and operations management together, Kurt or Bobby, before we jump into what this all looks like? Sounds like we're good to go. All right. So, Kurt, why don't you kind of tell us what we're going to see here? I think we're going to start with the service management view and then jump into the operations management view.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we're going to see is how do we get a handle on these worlds? How do we start to track what's going on in that infrastructure? How do we align that infrastructure to the business services we're delivering, ensuring that the customer's digital experience is what they expect, the excellence that they've come to know, and that it's working, that they're not the first ones calling the help desk to open up a ticket or emailing it in and having everybody scramble to try to put it out there, put out that fire. We want to be able to be proactive and identify those issues before they arise across the business services, across the applications, across that infrastructure, so the customers don't need to call in. Either we're remediating that automatically, or we're at least pointing our DevOps teams or operations teams to the source so they can restore those services quickly to the performance the customers like. And then we're also going to take a look at how all those alerts are coming in, because one of the typical things that we hear is, you think about those 25 to 30 tools that we were talking about a little bit earlier. If people integrate those into their service management system, a lot of the times, and this is a common complaint that we hear, is that there's lots of noise trying to find the signal from it. If you integrate that in and say, hey, we get a critical on this system and it has this type of alert, I want to open a ticket. Well, that's great until things start flapping or you start getting a lot of those alerts going down. I have one customer of mine, they were getting 16,000 false tickets a month. Wow. And for the support staff, when you start thinking about that, they had no downtime to do research or to do follow-up work. It was as soon as they closed out a ticket and they had any downtime for 5 minutes, that was going to clean up the duplicates or merge tickets together and just kind of filter that so that they had the audit trail for it. So what we want to do is we want to cut through that chaos, which is the OpsRamp motto, to really deduplicate that noise, bring it together into meaningful events and alerts that we're going to correlate together, use AI ops and machine learning, and then we can automatically open those incidents. So when the service support team gets those, there's at least context. Maybe we've taken and run some automatic remediation to get diagnostic information, put those into the tickets so that they can hit the ground running. That's really what we want to bring to the table, so that people aren't filtering through a long list of alerts and the correlation and trying to figure out what's going on in multiple systems. And I'll actually show you that in action. And then last but not least, when we start talking about those synergies, absolutely opening up those tickets, but not spamming people with tickets and alerts and notifications is what we're going to do. But then there's also a lot of power too with being able to take CMDB and populate topology and relationships out there, so that when a new resource comes online, it's automatically discovered, it's automatically populated in the CMDB, or if attributes change on it, we've got that out there too, as well as the relationships between the applications, between the network, and even cloud topologies can be populated in, if that's something that customers want to see. And I'll talk about that and show that as we kind of get in. But that's just a little sample of what we're going to see from the operations side. Now I'm going to turn it over to Bobby here, and he can talk and show you a little bit about the ESM side.
Awesome. So we're going to show that. I'm going to just try an experiment here with BrightTalk and see what happens when I turn my camera on, because I do have the Control the Chaos shirt, but it's looking like it's not working for me. So yeah, I might spare you all on that. But I do want to let folks know they can ask questions in the chat panels, and we'll take them as they come. But let's jump in. Bobby, you want to jump into the demo first?
Sure. Let me share my screen. And so
there we go. We got you.
Cool. So just as Kurt was saying, this very same issues are with noisy alerts. That causes obviously an issue on the service management side, the service desk. They're inundated. Their SLAs are just horrible when that happens, and so that they have to respond to that. And the same kind of problem happens, though, on the service management side. When your end user customers, they're sort of expecting an Amazon experience. They go home and they can get anything they want. And, it doesn't matter. It's a book, it's food, it's electronics, all of those type of things they're able to get from that site. And they like having that type of experience. ESM allows them to have that type of experience. So rather than going to a telecom website to order a mobile phone, or maybe audio conferencing or a telephone, or going to a facility site to request a room or something, plumbing, environmental control, all of those type of things. You've got in an ESM solution, you've got one-stop shop. it becomes your organization's Amazon for your customers to come in and get answers to questions and to get things done. And so I'll turn it over now to Kurt, because OpsRamp really does sort of the same type of thing from the operations perspective. Not so much it being multiple portals for the customers, but it helps that same problem on the service desk side.
And so when you're going in and talking to a customer or who's new to this world, that's what Amazon for the enterprise is an angle you'll take of how this can be your central hub.
Oh yeah, yeah. This is, I mean, everyone is expecting that Amazon experience. They've had that at home. They've had it at home now for 15 plus years, and they come to work and they expect that same type of experience. And so you're the only way you're able to provide that shift left is really provide it through a portal like this that crosses all of those business units.
And are they, just before, sorry, Kurt, are they usually coming off of some legacy service management tool, or in many cases they've never had anything in place in the first place, and it's sort of the whole framework is new?
Well, it's sort of a it just depends. It depends on the vertical. You're going to have green fields that don't have anything. You're going to have organizations with homegrown solutions, and then organizations that have some level of a service management tool, but it just doesn't do everything that modern tools are doing.
Makes sense. Sorry, Kurt, go ahead.
Yeah, and I was going to pick up on that Amazon.com type of approach there, a metaphor. Never thought about this before, but that's very apropos, right? I mean, because what we're seeing right there on the front end with what Bobby was showing and the different services I can request, and I need a new laptop, or I need access to the system, or the different levels of service. That's exactly the consumer-oriented approach that Amazon takes. And you think about you, me, we're all using Amazon a lot nowadays since we're locked in our houses here under quarantine. But we order things and they magically appear in 2-3 days, or sometimes even the same day. We don't think about how they got here. We don't think about the logistics supply chain, about how they arrived at our doorstep. We don't think about all the technology that's in place to be able to move that order from something virtual in a cart through the transaction to a warehouse to get that fulfilled to somebody who's going to deliver it and track it all the way here. Now you get a notification that it's happening in 10 stops, right? When it's being delivered. And that's where the ITOM side comes into the house, because even though we don't see it as consumers, just like they don't see it on the ESM side when they go into their service catalog, we are managing a complex infrastructure for the services that are being delivered, even though it's transparent to our users, but they're critical to delivering that service at the expectation and the level that our customers are expecting. And that's where the ITOM world comes in, and specifically OpsRamp with what we can bring to bear on that complex infrastructure. So we can kind of see right here on the screen, and I'm starting out on our resource or infrastructure tab, but this is a sampling of everything that OpsRamp monitors, but this is what it takes to deliver complex services in today's world, right? Here we can see we have 3 different AWS accounts that we're bringing together, and we're monitoring everything that's in there: GCP, Azure, the databases behind the scenes, Athena, Lambda services. We're doing this all natively with OpsRamp in a single console. So when we start talking about those 25 to 30 tools, or how we managing those, or integrating event feeds, we're not. We're doing that natively with OpsRamp in a plug-and-play type of model. Even things like container technology and Kubernetes and the serverless computing, those are all things that we can start to manage and monitor, and I'll show you a little bit more about this. The server infrastructure, whether it's on-prem or the cloud, doesn't matter to us. It shouldn't matter to your customers, and it shouldn't matter to you. OpsRamp can manage all those in a single interface and console: network devices, network infrastructure, wireless access points, storage and databases, virtualization on premise, all these things that deliver the business services. Being able to have them in a single console and a dashboard to be able to monitor what's going on is very, very powerful. And it's something else that we have included too that's a nice benefit is the ability for web services to be able to track those, the status of the URLs or the status of the applications that we're delivering out here. Now we can do it with something like this landing page where we're doing just an HTTP or HTTPS watch, and I've got an issue out here. So if I want to go out and from our data centers or from your own data center, if we're monitoring this type of web page, we want to see what's going on, we can go out and start to get these diagnostics. Again, remember how I said that we can enable teams to hit the ground running? Well, this is exactly one of those areas. So if my login page was down for an application, now I was watching that page, well, boom, I can see that it's not successful. The first thing OpsRamp can do is do a trace route, and we can push this into a ticket to be able to get that information to see where we're having an issue. And actually, we're able to get through the entire trace route here, but we can see that we've captured the header on the HTTP call, that this is actually the service is unavailable. We can pass this into a ticket. So now when that service support team or the application team who's managing that gets notification, it's like, hey, your login page is down over here. It's fine to get there, but this is the error that we're getting and somebody needs to go fix it. Ideally, we're going to tie this to an automation and remediation process to be able to bring that service back up if it's a known issue. But if we can't, we can still at least give people the information they need to go hit the ground running. Something else that we're seeing a lot of folks take advantage of with OpsRamp is the ability for synthetic transactions. So I'm going to bring one up here. And this is actually the ability to record. I'm actually going to go to another one here. I've got a better example. Let's look at this one. But this is the ability to record and track complex transactions. I want to go to that login page and log in. I want to go to a menu and drop down and click this. Then I want to key something into a cart, and then I want to check out. How do we start to measure that? Because that's the user experience, right? And some people are calling it DEU for digital user experience. We support that capability too. So now we can start to, instead of waiting for a customer to email a ticket or call something into the service desk, we can actually have OpsRamp go out here, run through those transactions and start to alert us. What's our performance? Not just from one location, but from different locations. Even bring that into a breakdown of what does this look like for the different steps in the transaction. So here I can see that it takes 63% of the time is just opening the page. Clicking into it is 9%. Whatever that transaction is, we can bring visibility into it to let those teams see it.
Hey, Kurt,
So
on
really,
the synthetic side, there's a lot of really good information that's you're uncovering there. What do they? How do they act on that information organizationally? Who do they let know? How does that typically work?
Well, typically what's going to happen is that once you've identified your business services, right, because that is really more of an ESM side, in my opinion and from my experience, is we define our business services on the business side and the service support side, and we have service reliability engineers. Then we're going to map that back to how do we manage that performance? What is it going to be? What's the typical transaction that we want to manage? Now, OpsRamp is going to take and start to build baselines and give you that historical average. We can put that on dashboards. We can start to alert if a step is out there, and that can just send it to the team, the application owners. It can send it to the infrastructure management team, or it can open a ticket if you want to go fully into that. But it gives you that historical basis for what is the experience when everything's running fine. And then if we start to deviate from that, maybe it's taking 2 or 3 seconds longer than normal on a particular step, well, then we can start to notify people to get out ahead of a problem that's emerging. And then we're going to start doing things, which I'll show you in a minute here with alert correlation, to bring everything together, start to tie these together, whether it's based on topology, similar messages, similar resources being affected, you name it, but really kind of cut through that chaos and bring people to what the root cause is of an issue.
That makes sense. So really, it's one thing just to have it. It's another to have those baselines and then be able to create the right kind of alerts and notify the right kind of people to take action. So cool. Thanks.
Right. So if we look at what this might look like, and we want to bring this back together into a view that a business owner might have, or an SRE or a service owner, we can bring this back into a dashboard view. And I'm going to pop over here and look at this. And remember, this is what it might look like if we want to map everything back in a business service to what we care about. And I've got a dashboard here for enterprise service health, and I can see that I've got different services out here that are running our HR service. I've got a portal service, and this is really a high-level view and alert trends of what's going on with them, what resources are being impacted. But if I want to drill in and see why my ERP service is it's only showing 25% uptime or 0.25 for the last month, I can go into that a little bit further. And this is where we can actually see what's going on, how we're bringing that unified view together, whatever the underlying resources are, physical, virtual, on-premise or in the cloud, or even synthetics. So I can see here that, my different services that I have defined, my portal services, synthetics, database services, these are all fine, but then I might have some degradation here in my network services, database, and some network here. These are what's impacting me. Now, ideally, we're driving escalations, notifications, opening automatic tickets in Cherwell or Ivanti behind the scenes so that everybody's getting alerted and knowing what's going on and fixing those. But having these all tied together into a single place that's visible, that can take automatic actions and be proactive, is really kind of key. And I can see here response times. Here's where we're bringing these synthetics together. This is where we have that single pane of glass, or what we call a digital command center, for all these metrics that OpsRamp is monitoring and bringing in natively. Now, we have lots of customers who have different tools or point solution tools. They have information and metrics that they're gathering from code level type of performance management tools. We can still ingest those. I mean, that's something that's very common for customers to use. And OpsRamp becomes the central hub for the metrics and the operations. Again, digital command center. Where can I see the entire health from all my tools instead of swivel chairing between tool to tool to tool? And if I want to get a view of this, I can drill into my business service right from here and start to see, what are those logical components that are coming to deliver this together into my ERP service. And I can see
Kurt,
right
just
here.
before you go to into this this service view, I just want to ask Bobby. I mean, those dashboards. I saw a comment from you, to me about how much you like them. Do your customers have those? Is that sort of a nirvana, or what are you seeing there in terms of the dashboards Kurt just showed?
Well, those are great dashboards, and my thought is kind of from the service management perspective, and how much that information would help in troubleshooting, root cause analysis for the help desk. You have to have a tool like this, and when you have multiple tools, that just makes that task more difficult. And having this single tool to come in and get those answers is really nirvana.
Awesome. Back to you, Kurt. Sorry, I just wanted to. Bobby was like really appreciating those dashboards.
Yeah, no problem. But anyway, like I was saying, we want to map these to business services, right? And this is what this is, but this is really more of an operation-centric view of a business service. If we start looking at this, because everybody's seen a CMDB and they've seen all these long, complex lines and graphs and charts, but trying to make sense of that can be difficult. What we want to do with our business service maps, which is one approach to visualization, I'll show you another here in a second, is that we want to bring together the logical constructs that bring together a business service. And we're constantly maintaining this and updating it. So we're not waiting for a CMDB scan. We're detecting things as they come online. And we're automatically applying templates and throwing them into these modules. So this is, if you think about this, this is a logical construct for what I need to know. Delivers my ERP service, it's portal services, cloud database services, synthetics. But what is showing up in these boxes and what's being monitored is happening automatically based on policies that we defined, as well as the level of the monitoring templates for the different thresholds that are being applied automatically. Now, if I did want to dig into that, and I can see here that for my San Jose network, that is, I've got some critical issues that are down. I've actually got 5 alerts right here that I can click into and start to see. I'll pop. Here's our alert browser. We'll come in and take a look at this here in a second. But then I also see that I've got an issue with this this switch. Well, this little icon here means that I can start to visualize the topology on this. So I can actually punch out right from here, go see what does that other world look like, right? I showed you the logical construct, but now we're looking at that network topology aspect of it here. So I'm just going to blow this up to the 3 levels here, and this should give us a little bit better visualization. But OpsRamp will actually go out and start detecting topology. And here we can see that this is actually a border switch or an edge switch, that's experiencing an outage. So this switch is down, but it's also connected to everything else to connect. Now, why that's relevant is when we start thinking about how we're going to leverage this. Is that, yes, we're building pretty pictures, and yes, we can populate this into a CMDB if you want. But that's not the reason that OpsRamp has it in here. We actually use this for our AI and machine learning to be able to take this topology into account when we start seeing events. And then we can look upstream and downstream and start correlating together based on AI ops alert correlation policies. And what that looks like is I'm going to flip right over here back into the alerts that I opened up from my business service map. And I can see that these are all the alerts that are coming in. And I put a predefined filter in here for my San Jose lab with open alerts. But we can see that we've got a number of alerts that are out here right now. And I've got a couple here with boxes. And just to point out what you're seeing, this is typical, right? I mean, I've been working with operations tools for 20 years, and you've always had red, yellow, green type of alerts with dates and timestamps and messages. But what we've added to this are a couple fields here for repeat and this box for correlation. And what that means is that the repeat is we're automatically deduplicating. Remember what I was saying about our customer of mine that had 16,000 alerts open and they had to go back and clean it up? Well, we're preventing that because when something happens here, we're automatically deduplicating that. So we can see here that I've got a flapping resource. And instead of opening up a new event, driving different automations or whatever at the time, we're basically saying we know this is still part of the same event that's come in. We're not going to create new alarms. We're not going to create new tickets or escalations and emails to people and spam them. We're actually just going to correlate this back until it heals based on what we know. Then the other thing that we have here is a box for correlated alerts. So this is where the AI ops and machine learning comes into play. So if I click into this alert, I can start to see, oh, what are the networks and the services and the sites that are being impacted? I can see right here from this. This is actually this border switch that we just looked at is not responding, but I can see that I have correlated alerts right here. So if I correlate this alert, it's using topology. So that map that I just showed you back over here, it's using this map to say for all the alerts that have come in downstream, we're catching those using the AI ops and machine learning to say, we think that this SJC corp query.opsramp.net switch not responding is the cause of these other alerts. And guess what? These have been deduplicated too. So if you think about that, you might end up with one cause of 100 different alerts. How do you sift through multiple tools? How do you sift through, one tool's event browser to correlate those all together? You don't have to, because machines are great at looking at large data sets and executing basic rules. And that's exactly what we're doing to help people get to that, quick, faster time to restoration of the service. So when a team gets an issue here on this, we will actually generate a ticket in the ESM solution, Ivanti, Cherwell, ServiceNow, you name it. We do use webhooks to be able to open up and say, hey, this is the core cause of the issue that you're having, and we think this is the first place that you should look with some level of confidence.
Awesome. Hey, so Bobby, let me bring you guys back in, because you work with a lot of different ITSM technologies. Can you talk about, I think it's Cherwell, BMC, Ivanti. Are there differences there, or are those equally, in your eyes, you're going to market with all three or others? What's your overall approach to ITSM partnerships?
Well, we really go to market with all three of those solutions, and what Kurt was just talking about there, that's the key to bringing in alerts to a service management tool. Because if you're just bringing in alerts without that deduplication, without the correlation, then your SLAs just get trashed. There's just no way to handle that volume. In Kurt's example, 16,000 alerts. There's just no way to handle that. And so it's the magic or special sauce is bringing that information, those alerts, that once they've been deduplicated, once they've been correlated, bring those into service management so you can respond to those. But the trick is how to bring those in, and all of our service management solutions either have an integration already available with OpsRamp, or we're able to use the open API to bring that data in. So we can use it to bring in the network topology, so that your service desk can do better root cause analysis. They have the very same information that you're seeing here, but we can also integrate from that service desk perspective as well, so that when those alerts come in and OpsRamp deems it actionable, that those actionable alerts then come over to the service management solution.
Makes sense. So I feel like I'm watching a kaleidoscope here, Kurt, as Bobby's been talking. What's been going on? What are you doing there?
Yeah, I've just been showing a little bit about the different topologies that we start to capture. And again, this can be all pushed into a CMDB if you want. I'm not sure if you want to put your cloud resources, maybe some in there, or Kubernetes or containers, because those are so ephemeral. There's still debate going on whether you want to put those into a CMDB. I would say the hosts go in, but you would want something like OpsRamp to be able to tell you, okay, where is this container running? Where's this node? Or what, elastic resources are actually up in the cloud and being monitored automatically. And then we use this as the basis to help, again, like I said, do the correlation, the machine learning, point people to where that root cause of the service interruption is, and open a ticket or populate the CMDB if appropriate with that.
Awesome. Can you show, just because we're kind of towards the end of the presentation and demonstration, just the integrations area of OpsRamp, how, what that looks like, how, we need to be able to integrate with a number of different tools, be able to bring in events from those different tools, and then have that sort of synchronization with service management systems. So what does that look like in OpsRamp?
Yeah, right here. We actually have tons of integrations here. So I've got a few turned on here that you can see. We've got, number in here. But the great thing about OpsRamp is we have tons and tons of pre-built integrations for common tools, Docker, Kubernetes, Cherwell, Ivanti, all out here. I'm just going to scroll through our list. It makes life easy to get these up and running. But even if we don't have an integration out here, it's the ability to just use webhooks. They're the new standard. Instead of having code up all this stuff, you just basically, hey, here's a webhook, let's map the values, and boom, we're good to go. We can build integrations in 5, 10, 15 minutes with tools that we don't have integrations for.
And so many of these organizations that I'm sure you guys are working with, and we're certainly working with, are as they're modernizing their service management strategy, they're also modernizing their infrastructure, moving to the cloud. Can you just kind of touch on the cloud integrations, and what we're seeing there? And then maybe Bobby, like, how does a cloud migration come into play as part of a service management evolution, if at all?
No, it definitely does. That's one of the biggest reasons for change management today is migrating from the cloud, or the early adopters that migrated to the cloud. A lot of those people that they've realized that maybe there are certain elements of their environment that might need to be on site, and so service management is key to performing the work. Now, service management really can help you analyze, what needs to go where, but service management definitely helps with the processes for that migration.
Makes sense. Cool. So you're showing, in the hybrid, I think you make a great point. It's not all about the cloud. It's going to be hybrid for a long time. So,
yep.
I've been with at a trade show where service management, people from sort of the ITSM side, if there is such a side of IT, see this screen and they say, wow, that's exactly what we need. One view of across the on-prem and the cloud landscape. Is that what you see regularly, that reaction, Kurt?
Yeah, I mean, very rarely, especially for existing companies. Now, it's easy for a startup to be able to just say, hey, we're going all cloud, and that's fine. But for existing companies, there's always going to be some sort of on-premise footprint without some sort of radical change. There's always going to be a server sitting under a desk someplace that when you unplug it, payroll stops or something. Right. So there's going to be a need to identify those and monitor those as time goes on, yeah.
Awesome. Good. Well, thanks for taking us through that. That was really comprehensive demonstration. Let's jump back just to wrap up and point some people to next steps where they can learn more. So Bobby, why don't you go first and just kind of talk about how an organization might get started with FlyCast and how to contact you guys and what that initial conversation looks like.
Sure. So you're welcome to give us a call. You can see our number there, 844-359-2278. Visit our website, www.flycastpartners.com, or send us an email, info@flycastpartners.com. We'll be glad to talk to you. We've got people standing by waiting for calls right now, and just get in touch with us. We can help you with service management. We can help you with operations management, security, endpoint management. discovery. We've got, if you need an IT-based solution, we probably have one that'll fit.
Awesome. And then geography-wise, it's U.S. centric, or where is any areas of the U.S.? Just anything we need to know about industry or geography?
U.S. and Canada. So if anywhere in the U.S. or Canada, give us a call or hit our website.
Fantastic. Great. Also want to point out this link. You can just go to opsramp.com/events, and you can see all the Tech Talk recordings. We put these up on our YouTube channel, so be sure to subscribe to us there. But we want your feedback. So hopefully we hit some things that you were really interested in. Love to get you out there and engage with our great partner at FlyCast. So really thanks, Bobby, for joining us and sharing some of this wisdom with us. And thanks, Kurt, as always, for diving in and sharing a great OpsRamp demo. So,
hey,
thanks,
my pleasure. Everyone take care. Stay safe.
Yep. I'll talk to you next week. Thanks, folks. Take care.
Bye-bye.